Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador Cohen. Actually, I was invited to this house the other day, one of the church leaders of the round table, and I was really impressed by your passionate speech for Israel. And so again, thank you very much for taking a time for us. And so I have several questions, and first of all, I'd like to ask about yourself, the ambassador yourself. When you were appointed as the ambassador from Israel to Japan, I've been actually following you on YouTube and several, SNS outlets, and I was impressed by your love for Japan, and you travel around Japan, and you like sumo, and and your passion, and I want to ask your passion for the bilateral relationship, the deepening the bilateral relationship between Japan and Israel, and since I really clearly remember the agreement between the Prime Minister Netanyahu and Prime Minister then Abe Shinzo, and then the investment increased dramatically, and actually I wrote on the El Al the last May, and I was so glad, and so why don't you talk about your future vision of the friendship, the relationship in Japan and Israel. So how do you expect the Japanese people to get engaged or involved more in Israel? And especially, we are a Christian group, so do you have any desire for the Japanese Christians to, usually, Holy Land is the first top priority, but, so why don't you talk about?
Thank you very much for coming,
Yeah.
and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak about my second biggest love, let's say, after my wife and my family is Japan. My wife knows about this, that I fell in love with Japan as well. She's okay with it. She also fell in love with Japan. I came here in 2021, I'm sorry. And I was the head of Asia and Pacific division at the foreign ministry before. So I worked with Japan. I came to Tokyo, I know Tokyo. But I am really, I came and I was really passionate about the relations, about Japanese people, Japanese culture, Japanese sport. As you said, it's not only sumo, it's hiking Mount Fuji, it's going to Hokkaido, it's traveling, it's skiing, it's diving, it's running. All of the senses, the food, the culinary, the gestures, the respect, the temples, the art, the way of thinking, the Zen, the way the religious here is so acceptable, and so everybody can live free, even the Christians or Buddhists or atheists or whatever, Shinto, and it's very nice because it's like in Israel that freedom for everybody to have. Christians in the Middle East, the only place they can worship, they can feel free and protected is in Israel. Not in Lebanon, that used to be a Christian country, not in Egypt, not in others. It's only in Israel. They are protected and they can thrive and they can worship, and this is the cradle of Christianity. There is the war now. We have to admit that there is war now, and there is difficulties for Israel now, but we are going to prevail and we are going to win because we have to win. Good should win evil. And we are the good one, and we are the good side of history. I hope that we can resume the marvelous thing we did with Japan. Japan is a friend of Israel. Japan is an ally, and Israel is an ally of Japan. Just 2 days ago, I was posting a tweet against the firing of missiles from North Korea towards Japan. We stand by this. North Korea is collaborating with Iran and with Hamas, so you can see where they are and where we are. And I'm proud of being a friend and an ally of Japan, and I'm happy that Japan is standing by us. Of course, with this war, Minister Nakagawa came to Israel to show his solidarity and met hostages' families and others. But other than the war now, it's the issue of how we build the relations. And you mentioned rightly the pillars of Prime Minister Abe and Prime Minister Netanyahu together, they build together, cement together the strong relations. And it goes from economy and investments of Japan and Israel and Japan, expanding the trade. We are working on having to start free trade agreement negotiations between Japan and Israel. You mentioned the direct flights. Yes, indeed, there were direct flights between Tel Aviv Airport and Narita Airport. And I can tell you now, and this is for your viewers, that in March, beginning of March, it will be resumed, and it will be an ongoing flights all over the year, twice a week, even 3 times a week. So I do call to Japanese people to come and to Christians to come to our beautiful land. It will be safe, I promise you. And it is safe now. My family is living there, and we are safe because we have Iron Dome and we have everything, and we have shelters. But again, I understand that this is not the time to talk about tourism, but I hope that as war ends, Japanese tourism will come. It's not only about economy, it's not about tourism. We are cooperating on strategic issues like defense, because Japan is facing same challenges like Israel as missiles and as cyber and others, and Israel can have solutions and Japan can have solutions. And we are really talking about many things, culture and science and education and health, and delegations coming and going, and maybe we will have high-level visits in 2024 from Japan to Israel or from Israel to Japan, and signing agreements. We are going to put into effect the agreement that I have signed here. I've signed here in March this year about working holiday visas, which allow to Japanese youngsters, 200 every year, 200, to come to Israel for 1 year to work, because when you're a youngster, I was a backpacker as well, you don't have money, and so you have to work a bit but through working you get to know the society of Israel. And Israel is 200 to come to Japan for 1 year to work and travel and see and explore. So this is part of the things. We have so many agreements coming up, and we have so many good intentions. And we want Israelis to come to explore Japan and really to fall in love with Japan like I did. And because Israelis really want to see Japan and want to travel Japan. And I know I spoke yesterday to the head of El Al. He told me yesterday how many that the flights are really getting full. People want to come, and they start with twice a week, and now it's 3 times a week. So what I'm saying is that the pillars are strong. We are 2 democracies. We have both Japan and Israel have the same values of human rights, and we'll speak about it later about what we're doing in Gaza, but of democracy, of the values of freedom, and the rule of law. The rule of law also on the sea. This is what we see what's happening in the Houthis in Yemen. We have to protect, because it's also for the Japan economy with what they are doing there, which is wrong, and this is something that we have to tackle. The world should tackle it, not only Israel. So I think that we are on the same place when I speak, not only to the government of Japan, but also to the people of Japan. And of course, I have a soft spot to our Christians friend here, because they're really supportive, and I really appreciate standing by us in our most difficult time.
Thank you. I also look forward to seeing the Japanese Christians to go to Israel. Okay, so I hope the war will end sooner than ever. But the second question is, of course, a heart-aching one, difficult one, but about the October 7th genocide. I want to call it genocide rather than massacre. It's more than a massacre; it's genocide. But anyway, after the incident, I heard from the mouth of your people, one after another, it's the biggest tragedy since the establishment of the State of Israel. And also, it's another genocide after the Holocaust. And I was actually, personally, when I first went to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. in the United States for the first time, years ago, but I had the feeling, but that same feeling, arose in my heart. And this is not the usual, warfare. And so I want to ask, so for the Japanese viewers' sake, Japanese people's sake, so how can you describe the shock that can actually relate to the tragedy of Holocaust? That shock, one of the biggest tragedies. How can you explain to Japanese people who usually don't have, of course, haven't experienced the kind of maybe like atomic bomb, the shocking, So can you explain the pain and agony?
Well, the Holocaust was a genocide. It's a definition by UN, genocide, killing, exterminating people because of their religion, because of their belief. And 6 million Jews were exterminated by the Nazis in World War II. What you said is the feelings of the Israelis is indeed, I wouldn't want to compare to the Holocaust anything.
Okay.
It's something else. It's, but the tragedy that we've passed is the most painful one since our creation, the most traumatic and hurting one for us. This was, if the Hamas had the opportunity, he would have killed all of us, all the Israelis. We are 10 million Israelis. He would have, even if he had the capabilities, he would have, because he said they should be exterminated. The level of cruelty, this is something I think modern history have never seen, such cruelty of killing babies, burning them alive, killing parents in front of their children, raping, cutting limbs, cutting heads, kidnapping, firing, executing in a way. The Nazis tried to hide their acts.
Yeah.
They tried to hide it and not and they lied about what they did, not only to the Jews but to the others as well. Their crimes against humanity, and what Hamas did also crimes against humanity. It's not only war crimes; it's crimes against humanity. Hamas was proud of it. Their terrorists had the GoPro cameras, and they pictured themselves. And now you can see it around the world how they were so happy and so proud of executing babies or raping women. This is why it was so horrible for us. And indeed, the pain in Israel are still there. I can tell you personally, I have my 2 sons in the army in Gaza, and we are very worried. Me and my wife, and of course for all the soldiers. And we are kidnapped, hostages. 130 still there. It's very, very difficult. Children are there, still women are there, men, old people. Hamas is playing games and don't release them. So indeed, this is the most difficult time ever. I spoke to my father just 2 weeks ago, and he said to me in Israel, he's almost 80 years old, and he told me, son, I'm here 80 years in this country. I've never seen a tragedy like this. Never have seen something so tragic and so painful and so hurting like what they did to us. And what we are doing now is not a revenge. What they are doing now is trying to make sure it will not happen again. Because Hamas, terrorist organization, Hamas like ISIS, they say, we are going to do it again and again and again. This is only the preview, October 7. So no country can accept it. And this is why we have to conduct the operation, to make sure that we can live there peacefully in the communities nearby, to make sure Hamas is not going to govern and threat us anymore, and to release our abductees. This is the only reason why we are in Gaza. Now there are a lot of countries in the world and a lot of people saying immediate ceasefire.
Right.
Okay, if I cease my fire, if I cease my operations, who is going to release my abductees? How much time should I wait? 10 years, 20, 40 years, 50 years, like Japan is waiting for its abductees for North Korea. No, we cannot wait so much time. And we cannot allow it. And we cannot allow that in the future, no Hamas, ISIS, and no Hezbollah in the north will attack us like this, because they have the same plan to do it again and again. And no country should agree to it. Now, if somebody has a different or a better solution how to uproot Hamas, like the US did with ISIS in Mosul and Raqqa. It took them 3 years to do it. We don't want to do it so many years, but if somebody has a better solution, on the one hand to uproot Hamas, on the second hand to try to minimize affecting or hurting civilians that we don't want to hurt civilians, please let me know. I don't have any other solution, and we are trying. IDF, Israel Defense Forces, is moral army. We call to people to evacuate from the north to the south. Some of, by the way, the evacuation, some of them were our hostages. They took the hostages with them, and the leaders of Hamas, and from hospitals. So, I agree. This is the most painful and tragic event since our creation.
So I was going to ask that question, but you already answered. But it's to me, it's really difficult war. Usually the normal combat, the armies is to protect the citizens, and then they fight each other against each other to protect citizens. But the IDF is protecting their own citizens, and at the same time the Gaza civilians in Gaza. So it's going to be a very difficult the warfare. And so I want to know more about how the IDF educate the soldiers in order to comply with the rules of engagement, and how do you evaluate and whether they kept the rules of engagement or not. So could you tell me? I think that all the citizens of Israel, when they're young, they receive the education. But so could you introduce?
Well, I was a soldier myself, and my sons and my daughter are soldiers now. My son got recruited for reserve forces. We have very strict rule of engagements and CONOPS, what we say, conduct of operations. You engage, and you shoot only a terrorist that you see that is terrorism. The problem is that Hamas is trying to manipulate us and calling us in Hebrew and this and then attack us.
I see.
This is why, unfortunately, by mistake, we killed our own hostages. Because the soldiers did not know that they are really Israelis. They thought that they are Hamas and trying to fool them, that as they did before. Shouting in Hebrew, putting some dolls speaking in Hebrew, and then dragging us to a trap and then kill us.
I see.
But the commander of IDF, Israel Defense Force, was very clear. We don't shoot no one that is raising the white flag. We don't shoot civilians. We don't shoot kids. We don't shoot women. We are trying to protect them. And this is why we are telling them to go out from Shifa Hospital. This is why we brought incubators to the hospital. This is why we brought machines to help them, ambulances to evacuate them. Because we do not want to hurt no civilians. But they use the hospitals of them as headquarters of Hamas and tunnels underneath. They are using these tunnels instead of building hospitals. This huge tunnel that they found, it's something amazing. You can have trucks inside. Instead of putting their money in tunnels, you could have built 2 hospitals and one school. But you took the money and you put it in the tunnels of terrorism. That's what Hamas was doing. This is why this is so painful. Now Hamas is using their population. They don't care about their population. They use them as human shields. We try to avoid hitting them. So this is why, if a pilot, for example, Israeli pilot, sees that there is a house that he get an order to hit this house because there are terrorists over there. But if he sees that there are civilians there or children, he aborts. He says to these commandos, I don't bomb.
So the pilot himself makes a decision, or he's gonna ask the boss?
No, he's getting his instructions before he goes.
Okay.
And then he tells them. But sometimes when they approach, we can see if there are civilians or children there. And then the pilot has the authority himself.
Oh, I see. abort.
It's getting to abort, not to hit children, not to hit. This is the moral army of Israel. We know that there is a bomb. Japan is saying Israel has the right to defend itself under international law. So what we are doing is, there is a house. We know that there is a rocket over there. There is, and we know, we showed it also. There is a room for the parents, room for the kids, and room for the rocket. That's it in the house. Now we have to hit the rocket because it is firing us. We are calling them to go out. They don't go out because Hamas doesn't even go out. So we are doing something like a small bomb on the roof. It's called knock on the roof, just to make a noise. And then we want them to run away. But at the end, we have to hit the house. We have to hit this missile. So this is the complexity. And this is the dilemmas that we have when we fight terrorist organization, a vicious and murderous terrorist organization, hiding inside civilian population.
I see. Okay. Thank you. So, another question is very related to this. But, the news outlet report the number of casualties, the Palestinian civilians, the Palestinians, and of course the Israel side is of course report from the government. But how do you, I know that it's Hamas, is publicize the number, but how do you calculate the casualty of civilians? And then also, but at the same time, they all lumped them together. Combats, the militants and the civilians mixed together. But how do you calculate them?
That's the problem, because sometimes you cannot believe to what they say.
Right.
Of course, the Ministry of Health of Gaza is controlled by Hamas. Unfortunately, there are civilian casualties. We have to admit it. We don't want it. But they are civilian casualties. By the way, some of the Hamas are wearing not uniforms, they are wearing civilian clothes. So you can't identify if he's civilian or he's Hamas. Only when he pulled the gun, you can know that he's Hamas or a militant. So it is very difficult to say. I know that we have killed thousands of Hamas terrorists, thousands of them. And we captured some of them. But I don't have the exact numbers of the ratio between civilians and Hamas terrorists. Because the Hamas wants us, or Hamas is dragging us to be blamed that we bombed the hospital. We didn't bomb the hospital, they bombed the hospital. They are firing at civilians. This is democracy fighting a terrorist organization. This is the problem. When democracy wants to protect civilians on the other side, Hamas is using them, as I said, as human shields, hiding under mosques, under schools, under hospitals, in civilian houses, in order for us to hit them, in order to us to be blamed that we kill civilians. We do not want to see every child dead or every civilian that is hurt in Gaza is a tragedy. Really, I tell you, it's a tragedy. We do not want to. We want to hit only the Hamas. This is a war not against the Palestinian people. It is a war against Hamas.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, and then, all right. And next, yes. The next question is about the families of the abductees who recently visited Japan, and I was really moved by their words. And so, other family members of the abductees, they also go to other countries in the world, right? Okay, and then, so what is your government, trying to do in order to free the hostages, other than the combats in Gaza? Like I heard the news that they negotiate with through the Qatar leadership and then Egypt as well. So could you explain more about how do you negotiate, or at the same time the fighting against Hamas?
Right. Well, first of all, the fighting, the war, the orders for the army, from the cabinet, were to release the hostages, to do everything we can to release them. There were some operations, one of them was successful, some we've been able to have back some bodies of hostages that were executed in captivity. But the aim is to put our hands on our abductees and release them. Now it's very difficult because it's under the ground and tunnels, and it's very difficult. And we have to gather intelligence. But the pressure that is applied by the army is making the Hamas, we believe, make them more accepting the terms to have negotiations. We had a deal, I think something like 100 hostages were released through this deal. We had to stop our fire for a few days and release 3 prisoners, which, by the way, these prisoners committed crimes and killed Israelis and were committing terrorism. It's not that they are hostages. They were tried in a court in Israel after they committed terrorism. But that's the only difference. Our hostages are innocent people that were abducted. But anyway, because I heard the Palestinian ambassador saying here that there were also hostages on the no, there are no hostages in the Israeli jails. There are terrorists that were tried for committing terrorism. They are not innocent, none of them. But anyway, we had to do it. We are now engaged in another round of a deal to swap prisoners from the Palestinian side and hostages from our side. And maybe some days of ceasing fire. Yeah, indeed, Egypt and Qatar are very much helpful on this. The United States as well. And we are conducting talks, indirect talks with Hamas in order to have kind of releasing of our abductees. This, together with the pressure of the army, I hope will make the platform or the infrastructure for this deal and for future deals, because in our aim is to release all our abductees, hostages, including alive or bodies.
Okay, bodies. Yeah.
We have several bodies.
The bodies that are dead. Okay. Okay. Thank you. And then I think this will be the difficult. This may be the very difficult question, but after eliminating Hamas, so what is the prevalent opinion inside Israel how to govern Gaza? Who is going to govern Gaza or how? And I hear the various opinions within the government as well as among the people, the civilians. So how do you, could you tell?
We are now engaged in war, a very difficult war, and we are trying to achieve the goals that were set by the Israeli government, which is to eliminate Hamas governing power and military strength, to release our abductees, and to make sure that the communities in kibbutzim and others will be, and towns will be safe near Gaza. So we don't know yet what will be the outcome after it. Of course, we are conducting talks with our friends, with Americans and others, about how do we future it in the future, but there is no decision yet by the Israeli cabinet how we can see the day after, because first we have to finish the war, and then we see. Now, I can tell you that there are, this is, my opinion is, or not my opinion, it's the government, Hamas is not going to control Gaza anymore. Okay, this is
no option.
No option. There's no option. Americans know it and others, and even Japan, and Japan and others, and Italy and G7 and others understand. Hamas cannot be a ruling power anymore in Gaza. Second, Israel does not want to control Gaza, the day-by-day life of Gaza. We don't want. We were there until 2005. We left it. We wanted them to be without us, without military, without army. We wanted them to thrive. We wanted them to, instead of being a Singapore, they became Gaza.
Right.
They became a hub of terrorism and a hub of vicious attacks against Israel. Time after time again, several rounds from Gaza. So we don't believe Hamas cannot do it. Israel does not want to control the civilian life in Gaza.
Okay.
But we may think about some kind of security measures to be taken by Israel to make sure that October 7th atrocities will never happen again. So how will it be? Who is going to govern? Is it going to be Palestinians? Now, Palestinian Authority, there is a problem with them. This is it's a corrupted authority, corrupted people, teaching their children for hatred. You should go to, I suggest the Japanese should go to the schools in Ramallah and Jenin and Nablus and look at the curriculum. They do not teach for peace. They teach for hatred of Jews, for lineage. They don't teach how much we teach our children, 4 bananas and 4 apples are 8. They teach 4 shaheeds. And 4 shaheeds. Shaheed is someone that killed himself, a martyr, for when he exploded in a bus, when he killed Jews. To kill Israelis is good. They pay money, the Palestinian Authority, for the families of people who killed Israelis. If you killed 4 Israelis, you will get $1,000. If you killed 8 Israelis, you will get double your family. So how can we trust them? How can we trust someone that is teaching his children in summer camps to put uniforms and gun? You know, we found in Gaza that in every place, in every house that we entered, you see the pictures of the family, and the child is 5 or 6 years old with a Kalashnikov, a gun. What does it mean? It means that the other side is teaching his children, the next generation, the future, to hate, not to live in peace and prosperity. So, the next governing body, I don't know if it's going to be composed by the Palestinians or Egyptians or Saudis or I don't know, other bodies from the international community, I don't know, should be someone that we can trust, that wants to live in peace and educate for peace and understanding that there should be coexistence with Israelis. We cannot tolerate anymore that the convention of Hamas and others there is no Israelis. And all these demonstrators, some of them standing in front of my embassy, saying Palestine should be free from the river to the sea. What does it mean? It means no Jews living there, no Israel living there, only Palestinians, and the Jews should be dead. By the way, Hamas is going to exterminate also, to kill also the Palestinian Authority, Abu Mazen and others. They tried to do it before. So they will do it again. Because they, in their ideology, this is Islamic fundamental religious movement who wants to, this number one passion of them or desire is to kill Jews and Israelis. And in this way, they are like the Nazis. You're right. They are like the Nazis. To kill Jews just because they are Jews.
Right, right.
And this is something we cannot accept. And this is why my long answer to your short question is, I don't know. We'll have to see. But we have to make sure that the body that is going to govern, or the government that is going to govern Gaza in the future, will be committed to peace. Or at least not to educate, to hate Israel and the Jews.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so, I felt that it will be a very difficult task to find a peaceful counterpart.
And this is why you're absolutely right. But you know, the Jewish people is living almost 4,000 years now.
Yeah.
We've been to atrocities. People exiled us. The Romans, the Babylons, Nazis were trying to exterminate us. But we survived.
Survived, yeah.
And we built our own country. And we will never surrender. We will never give up. We are, because we are right. And we know we are strong. You know, 80 years ago, I'm watching at night, there is a new Netflix, a new TV series on World War II. And you saw what the Nazis have done and the ideology of them. And you know, there is the episode of what they did to the Jews, finding a solution for the Jewish problem. they also wanted to go Roman from Africa to exterminate the Jews that were living in Israel in the 40s. Today, thank God, we have an army. We have someone to protect us. We have soldiers that can hold the weapons. We have friends, allies, first and foremost the United States of America. And we have friends around the world, including in Japan, that say that Israel has the right to defend itself. So we are not going to be exterminated. And, and it's difficult. And to find a partner that educates for peace. Israel wanted peace. We offered it in Oslo Agreement peace in 1993, and in 2000 when in Clinton and Arafat and Barak, and 2006 Abu Mazen, the same Abu Mazen of today, 20 years ago, with Olmert, a good deal with compromise for land, for water, for protecting each other, for living in coexistence, for Jerusalem, for refugees, for settlements. Everything was on the table. They always reject it. And they reject it because generally they don't believe in peace. They believe in one country from the river to the sea, the Jordan to the Mediterranean, which is a Palestinian state. That the refugees should go back to Gaza, to Jaffa and Tel Aviv and Haifa and Akko and Ramle. And I'm speaking about the Palestinian Authority. When you educate for peace, Abu Mazen did not condemn even once the October 7th atrocities. Abu Mazen. His representative is sitting here in Tokyo, even once, that Abu Mazen goes out and says, this is unacceptable. You don't do things like that. You don't kidnap people. You don't murder children. You don't rape. Why didn't he say it? And now people are coming to us and say, Abu Mazen should control Gaza. Why? Why should he get a reward for what? So, if there is the Americans are talking about revised Palestinian Authority. Revised one. I don't know what revised is. But things are not going to be as before October 7. The time has changed. This is a kind of a barrier.
Totally new phase.
This is not anymore. Not with them. Not in the north with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not going to sit on our borders. And 100,000 people that have to be evacuated, Israelis. No, it won't happen again. And if needed, if Hezbollah doesn't stop, Lebanon is going to be back to the Stone Age. Lebanon is going to be very, very badly hit. We don't want it. We don't want this war. So we hope that the diplomatic pressure on Iran, which is sending all of the proxies, the Houthis in Yemen, from Syria, their militias, they are supporting Hamas, financing it and sending instructions, and of course Hezbollah in the north. They are the ones. And yesterday there was the vice minister or some of Iran here to talk to Japan, saying that Israel is committing genocide. Yes, really? Iran is saying publicly, Jews should be, Israel is a cancer, as a tumor that has to be uprooted from the Middle East. The Jews have no right to live there. Because they have their own problem, they're looking to attack Israel and to the inside. And so this is what Iranians are saying. They order the Houthis to kidnap your ship, the Japanese ship. It's their role and their instructions. So it's difficult. I told you a very dark picture. The bright one is difficult to say, but let's say the better one is all Sunni states, moderate states. I believe, and I know, that they think like us. That there should be a solution to Hamas, that Hamas is a threat, not only to Israel, but themselves. And I believe that in the future, we are going to resume negotiations with Saudi Arabia. Israel wants peace. We showed it before. We went to peace conferences. We went to Oslo. We went to speak to the Syrians. Really? Yes. We in the 90s they were negotiating with the Syrians. Even the Syrians. We had peace with Egypt. We had peace with Jordan. We returned Sinai Desert. We have peace with Emirates, peace with Bahrain, peace with Morocco, diplomatic relations. We want to expand it, that the Saudis and the Abraham Accords will be expanded to all of the countries. Also here in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, others, why not? we will hold the sword of us to protect ourselves. But we are reaching the other hand with an olive leaf of peace. And we showed before, including with the Palestinians. Including with the Palestinians. As we offered so many times before, let's have peace together. With Arafat, who was a terrorist himself, and with Abu Mazen, and with the Palestinians, we wanted to have peace with them. So nobody can blame Israel that Israel doesn't want to have peace. History shows the other way around. If we didn't want to have peace, why do we have these agreements with the Arab states? Why does it still stand? Why do we still have an embassy in Cairo and Jordan? And I'm very happy. And Emirates and Bahrain. Because they understand that the threat is fundamentalist Iran and their proxies and the terrorist organization, Hezbollah, Hamas, which is ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They are all the same branches, and Islamic Jihad and these organizations. So at the end, what Israel really wants, and this is the prophecy of our prophets, to live in peace. Israel wants peace with its neighbors, with the Palestinians, even with the people in Gaza. Why? We gave you so much money. We opened the gates. We put 20,000 of your people to work in Israel. We expanded that you can go to fish, the fishermen of Gaza. And we took you to hospitals in Israel to be treated for cancer. And we wanted you to prosper. And we gave you the money, we gave you the fertilizer. So you took the fertilizer, we gave you and you transferred it into bombs. And the cement, you put it in instead of building schools and industry, you built tunnels of terrorism. That's the tragedy. And that's the tragedy of the Palestinians in Gaza. And unless they change their, how do you say, the diskette or their mind for peace, they are going to suffer and we are going to suffer. And in our schools, we teach our children for peace. When, as I said, when our children are going to summer camps, they learn about music, about art, about how to surf waves, or how to have kites, or about the space. This is what they do in the summer camps. And what are the children in Gaza are learning? And when they put uniform, put a gun, and let's fight, and let's kill Israelis. So this will never end like this. This will never end. And the world should pressure the Palestinians and Iran just to stop it, just to stop and change it, because there will never be an ending for this war.
So my next question is that how does our government, our country, can cooperate with for the peace in the region? I remember one of the family members of the abductees in Japan, when he visited, he appealed to the press that you're a powerful nation, and so please help us. So more tangible ways, how can the Japanese government cooperate and help in order to release the hostages and also for the peace and prosperity in the region?
Japan has a very important role in the international community. Japan is a member of the Security Council, a member of the G7, very strong and important role in the ICC, International Criminal Court, and ICJ, in the world bodies and agencies. And Japan has a moral voice as a country that wants peace and advocates for peace. Japan has good relations with Iran. Japan has good relations with other actors, Qatar and Egypt, you mentioned. Also the Red Cross. Doesn't have any access for our abductees. When the families of hostages were here, we met the president of Red Cross here in Japan and asked her and the Red Cross to get the accessibility, just to see if they are alive and if they are well, they get their medicine, glasses, something. So I think what we heard from the Japanese leadership was very encouraging. That Japan, and also from lawmakers here, Japan is going to do everything it can in its power to help and to put its influence on the relevant parties that is dealing with the issue of hostages. Like you said, Qatar, Egypt, others, to first have an access to the hostages, but also, but most important, to be released as soon as possible. And I thank Japan for its stand. I thank Japan not only on the hostages, but also the standing by us and acknowledging the right of Israel to defend itself, showing solidarity, calling Hamas a terrorist organization. This is very important that Japan is doing now. And calling the immediate and unconditional release of our hostages. So this is the way that Japan can do it in the bodies that I mentioned, the Security Council, the G7 and others, but also bilaterally. I think the visit of Kamikawa-san to Israel was very important. She met the families of hostages there, and she met them here. And we appreciate very much that she met them here in Tokyo as well, and also other lawmakers and the others in both houses. And they met also the organization who deals with the Japanese abductees to North Korea and members of the parliamentarian league group of the abductees working for the Japanese abductees. So I think they were, after they went from here, they told me that they were very pleased of the hospitality of Japanese people, emotions that were presented, because I told them Japanese do not show emotions like us. But you know, in every meeting you saw how much emotions were out there from Japanese people. And it was really. I think also, you know, very important people here that were showing their emotions, and I think because it's really heartbreaking, the stories.
Okay, thank you so much. The last question, I assume that Japan is no stranger to the conflict, war in Gaza, but we also have the issue of, as you said, the abductees by North Korea, and also that we have the risk of conflict over Taiwan. So how, you were in Japan, an ambassador from Israel to Japan, and how do you see the connection, or how Japan is not foreign to the war in Gaza? So can you tell?
Yes, but I think that the threats on Japan are very much similar, or the challenges to Israel. You have been threatened on long-range missiles. Just 2 days ago, there was a launching of a missile against you. There is the threat of China to invade Taiwan, of course. There is the Russian invasion to Ukraine. We saw it. So, and of course, we are being attacked and missile by Hamas and by Hezbollah and others. And I think that we can cooperate together. First and foremost, politically, at the United Nations, and talking to each other and standing by each other, like Japan has shown its solidarity to Israel. I expressed my solidarity with Japan yesterday when they were missile. I said very loud and clear that Japan, this is violation of the Japanese safety and peace. And this should not be acceptable, and the world should stand against this kind of acts by DPRK. But it's not only this. I think that Japan and Israel can cooperate on many things. For example, talking about how we can secure the water, the freedom of navigation, which is very important for Japan. Energy, that gets its energy mostly from the Gulf. You cannot allow attacks of the Houthis or Iranians or others against your ships, against any ship in the world. There's a freedom, free trade. By the way, it's hurting also China, the export of China, and it's hurting Egypt, that has the Suez Canal. It cannot be accepted. We can also cooperate on defense issues. Israel has a very sophisticated protection against missiles, several layers of protection of anti-missile technologies, which is very, very good. The Iron Dome, the Arrow and others that are operational combat proven. So we, and of course about cyber, about other things, we can cooperate on many things. Israel sees Japan as its friend, its ally. And Israel is willing to share our experience and our knowledge and our services to Japan. We can learn from Japan also. We can cooperate together with the United States. And we see you as a friend, and we consider you as a friend. And I can tell you, it's also an economic issues. I think we should stand by each other after the war.
After the war, yes.
I call Japanese government, I call Japanese industry, I call Japanese private sector to come again to Israel. There are still 90 Japanese companies which operate in Israel. Okay, some of the expats left, but I hope they will be returned.
Yeah, it is.
But I think to boost the economy again, to work together, to invest, because Israeli economy is suffering now, because many of our resources are going for the war, because we have to live first, and then we can. But as soon as the war is over, as soon as Japan, I call to Japanese people to come, I call to Japanese tourists to come to visit us, I call to Japanese investors to come and invest in us, because Israel is going to live forever. Israel is going to thrive forever. Israel is going to contribute to mankind, for science, for technology, for innovation, for startups, for betterness of the world, for clean tech, for high tech, for green technology, for agro-technology, for health technology, for everything that Israel can contribute. And I think the combination between Japan and Israel is amazing. I think that the synergy between Japan and Israel is something that can bring us to the highest peaks ever. And this is why I'm very optimistic about Japan-Israel relations, because I see in this war where Japan stands. And Israelis, they have a long memory. We, the Jews, we have the long memory. And we remember our friends. And when Japan comes to stand by us in our most difficult time, as Israel came here in 2011 for the Fukushima disaster and the Tohoku earthquake, and Israel came here and stood here by Japan and deployed its forces to help the Japanese people, because we felt that we needed a friend indeed. And I think that based on this, that this is the most difficult time. And I know it's not easy for Japan as well, because I see the pictures from Gaza also every day. We don't want it, but I see it's difficult. But you understand that we have to eliminate Hamas, and you understand that we have the right to defend ourselves, and you understand that we have to write an obligation to release our abductees. And this is why I think from this very dark and difficult time, I think in the future, very coming future, the relations between Japan and Israel are going to be stronger than ever.
Right. Yeah, and I may want to comment. I'm tempted to comment that because I'm a Bible believer. We are the light to the world. The darker the world becomes, the lighter that we have to become.
We have celebrated just
Hanukkah. Yes.
This is the festive of lights, festive of happiness, festive of hope. Light will prevail over darkness.
Right.
This October 7 darkness and what's going on today, it's a really, really dark time. Not for Israel, I think only, but for mankind.
Yeah, for mankind, yes.
To accept this. Everyone is supporting Hamas. Everyone that is saying that Israel has not the right to it is just supporting terrorism. And this terrorism will come to its doorstep soon.
Yeah.
If we are not, all of us, standing together against terrorism. There is absolutely no acceptance or legitimacy for a man with gun to enter a house and slaughter a family. No acceptance, no legitimacy. This is pure terrorism and crimes against humanity. And we should all stand together, all of them. And I do not want to name names now about other countries. I'm very disappointed of some of the countries, also some of your neighbors, Japan neighbors, who are supporting Hamas. Who are saying that Israel should stop the fire and just stand and wait for another attack of Hamas. I'm very disappointed, but this is maybe for another interview.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you for coming.
I enjoyed the conversation and you're passionate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I hope you
Presentation of Israel.
and your viewers and other Japanese will understand that the war is going to be over.
Yeah.
Please come to visit us. Please come to invest in us. We're going to invest in you. Please see Israel as a partner in the future. Because if we don't see the partner, us as partners, it means that Hamas won. That they want us, and Iran won.
Yeah.
Because they want us to crumble. They want us to crumble and to lose militarily, but also economically, and that we are able to say, okay, we have to shut down Israel. We'll never surrender, and we do want to continue the good relations with Japan, and I think we have a very, very good and strong pillars between the countries. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.